with Alert Day coverage now. This is Wave News.
Well, heavy rain, strong wind, thunderstorms, severe weather brought it all to our backyards overnight. We've been watching this storm system develop, and we tracked it all night as we moved into wave country, leaving destruction in its path. And we have team coverage this morning, keeping track of what's happened, what you're waking up to, and what's to come. Meteorologist Carson Meredith joining us this morning. Marissa Burke is live outside, keeping up with some of that damage. And Tawana, you're here to talk about everything that's happening right now in the weather world, and we're going to see a lot as the sun comes up this morning.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of locations that are going to be reporting more damage as we get more of that sunlight. But keep in mind, we'll be trying to clean up as we deal with more rain moving through the region. So that is definitely not the best of situations at all. We do have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings off towards our south and east. Thankfully, those are staying just outside of wave country. That's how we like it. We're continuing to keep an eye on more of that rain rolling through the region this morning. Anywhere from Bardstown to Springfield to Columbia to Litchfield, you're locked in on the heavy rain right now. We're seeing more of that moderate to heavy rain from Breckinridge County all the way into Bullitt County and straight in to the Louisville Metro. So that means for those of you who have to head into work today, I know that some Southern Indiana schools are also in session today. The rain is going to be a factor, so keep that in mind. We're also keeping an eye on some more of those showers stretching from Shelbyville and with some drier conditions right now towards Carrollton, and seeing some heavy rain in Franklin County. Southern Indiana, you are certainly a lot drier as of right now. Now, as we continue throughout the rest of the morning, we're going to watch rain chances actually dropping off. Rain will become a little bit more scattered across the region. Won't go away, but the rain chances will drop a little bit towards lunch. But they'll ramp right back up once we head into later on this afternoon and evening. That potential for strong to severe storms will be back into our forecast, especially between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. today. So keep that in mind as you're heading out and about. Our temperatures right now in the 60s across the region. As we head throughout the rest of the day, going to stay in the 60s. So at least we're going to keep things mild and warm across the region. Not as warm, though, as the 80s that we saw yesterday. For those of you south of 64, this is where we have that slight risk of severe weather. Level 2 out of 5 back in play. Damaging winds, more of that hail, that potential for tornadoes back into the forecast for the afternoon and evening. And that, Carson, could add on to the power outages that we're already seeing.
Certainly possible, Tawana, especially with the rounds of severe weather, not just for today, but also possibly into Friday and even Saturday as well. But I do have some good news. We look at the power outage map this morning. Compared to an hour ago, we are seeing some improvement in getting those customers back online. The worst spots, however, are still across Southern Indiana. Earlier this morning, Jackson County had nearly 40% of customers without power. That number's been cut in half to just shy of 20%. Still over 5,400 folks without power in Jackson County. Here in the metro, those numbers peaked around 2,500 customers without power in the metro earlier this morning. Now we're down to around 2,200 or so. But keep in mind, as we go through the next couple of days, we'll have that additional risk for more power outages with each round of severe storms. But in addition, as the ground gets more waterlogged, those trees become more susceptible to falling over. That could cause a couple of power lines to go down as a result. And also keep in mind, as you're out and about this morning, if you come up to a traffic light that is out, treat it as a four-way stop, and wherever you are, just give yourself plenty of time heading out the door. We're going to talk about traffic here in just a few minutes, but let's look at some of the damage that we saw from those storms last night. Wave News reporter Marissa Burke has been out all night and all morning showing us the damage in J-Town out in the industrial park. Marissa?
Yes, Carson, we are off of Plantside Drive on one of those side streets, and the building behind me, we are not sure of the business that's inside, but this building is just distorted. You can see where the panels have just been ripped off the side from the winds, and you can see inside of this building, the roof. I know it's hard to see, but it is just all sorts of just combusted up together. I don't know another way to describe it. Again, this building is just all sorts of twisted and distorted, and when we were on the side road to get here, we saw several downed power lines and trees. Like Carson was saying, this weather is going to cause a lot of trees to uproot. We did see that in a apartment complex not far from here, Blankenbaker Crossings apartment. As soon as you try to enter that complex, there's a tree right there at the entrance and several uprooted trees. So just beware when you're getting out and about today to just look around before you drive. Again, we are in J-Town, and this building is just off of Plantside Drive. Back to you.
Thanks, Marissa. All of us here at WAVE, and especially the WAVE storm tracking team, have been following these storms closely. At least one tornado brought damage to Jefferson County, but several others in our area also saw destruction. Strong winds, heavy rain, and thunderstorms all combined to really make a mess of things. This is footage shot by our crews last night in the area of the Bluegrass Industrial Park off Plantside Drive. You can see the strong winds really made a mess of the buildings there. Fire officials say that one nearby building was even completely blown down. They say it has caused some gas leaks on Plantside, with LG&E coming out to shut off any gas lines. At last check, fire officials say they haven't gotten any word about injuries in the area. We talked to the owner of a wood veneer company located in the industrial park. He says he's devastated seeing the damage.
Once I knew the storms had passed, I came down and I had a bad feeling. When I came down the street, I saw a lot of vehicles and I heard it kind of touched down in this area, and I thought these roofs are kind of weak, so I thought we were in big trouble, and we are. I've never seen anything like this. It's pretty devastating for us because our wood's laying everywhere, and once it gets wet, it's over.
Fire officials say that Louisville EMA will be out to survey the damage today. Check out this video sent in to us. The viewer says it shows the moment the power came back on at their apartment complex in Shelbyville. You can see the strong wind blowing all that heavy rain, blowing it sideways because it's so windy. This one comes to us from southern Indiana, specifically Floyd County near County Line Road. They were pummeled with that heavy rain too, and thousands of power outages were caused. They also have had reports of trees down in the county as well. Our alert days are continuing throughout the week because our weather issues will be sticking around. LMPD is reminding drivers to watch out for known problem spots with such a high potential for flash flooding.
I think when you look at any of the viaducts in particular, where we have those railroad crossings and those underpasses, please be very careful when you're approaching those. And we also know where there are creeks and things like that that come up.
You've heard it before, turn around, don't drown. Police say it's better to spend the extra time to find a safe way home than to try and risk it by driving through the floodwaters. MSD will set up roadway flood wall closures at 10th and 27th Streets today. It'll take crews several hours to install and assemble the flood wall. MSD says it expects the Ohio River will crest on Saturday. The weather forced UPS to suspend some of their usual work at Worldport overnight. The shipping giant says next day air sorting operations are suspended and all domestic inbound flights were canceled. UPS says they're doing this to exercise caution and put safety first. The company expects to resume normal operations this morning. Customers with questions about their shipments can track them at ups.com. Storm shelters across the area have their doors open for people who need a safe place to go this week. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says these shelters are especially important for people who live in mobile homes. In Hardin County, the Vine Grove Safe Room opened early for people in the area. Fire leaders say the bunker has its own power system, Wi-Fi, and it can withstand an EF5 tornado. We have a full list of shelters up on wave3.com. Governor Beshear also activated the Kentucky Emergency Operations Center. He says the National Guard is on standby, ready to head out where they're needed. We've been telling you all week, but make sure you download the Wave Weather app to stay on top of this long stretch of severe weather. It's completely free to download on your Apple and Android devices. Breaking this morning, a man is dead after a crash with an LMPD officer. Police say it happened on Fern Valley Road last night. The officer was responding to an emergency call on I-65 when police say the driver tried to turn in front of the officer and crashed. The driver of the other car died. The coroner identified him as 61-year-old Charles Briscoe. The LMPD officer was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. 2 juveniles were hurt in a shooting last night in Louisville. This happened around 9 o'clock off 26th and West Chestnut. Police found 2 teenagers there with gunshot wounds. They were taken to the hospital and are expected to survive their injuries. If you know anything about what happened, you should call LMPD's anonymous tip line. Louisville's Ford Assembly plant is going to close for most of next year to start a massive remodeling project. The new equipment and facilities will be used to make a new all-electric vehicle. Local UAW President Todd Dunn says 2,300 workers at the plant will be impacted. Most of them will be temporarily laid off. They'll get unemployment benefits, and when those run out, they'll get sub pay of about 70 to 80% of usual take-home pay. Dunn says moving forward, the UAW is going to focus on getting workers prepared for the closure.
Now it's just working on navigating the plan towards when this shutdown is going to begin, make sure our membership's informed, those who will be affected, give them as many services and get them as much information as possible to prepare and plan for that. So we're just in the planning stage and we're waiting on some of the specifics to come from Ford Motor Company.
Ford hasn't shared the exact details on the plan yet. A company spokesperson says they have committed an electric vehicle to the plant and they will release more information in the near future. Here's Tawana taking a look at the next 12 hours.
And as we head over the next 12 hours, we're still talking about more rain in the forecast. While the rain is going to become a little bit more scattered in nature towards lunch, we're still keeping an eye on the potential for some severe weather as we get into later on this afternoon and into the evening hours, watching that 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. time frame as of right now. But the rain, yeah, it can have an impact on anybody heading out and about this morning, especially with some of the power out across the region. Carson?
Yeah, just keep an eye out for some of those traffic lights that might be out, especially in eastern Jefferson County where we had that likely tornado touchdown a few hours ago. Big picture traffic-wise, however, we're still working on that one accident on the Waterston eastbound right underneath I-65. But as we go to that Tri-Mart camera in that particular area, look at the top left corner of your screen. You see LMPD has cleared the scene. And while traffic is still a little slow, let's say from the airport to I-65 on the Waterston, things are picking back up speed-wise. But obviously the roads are wet. Be on the lookout also for ponding on the roadways as you're heading out and about on this Thursday morning. An extra 10, 15, 20 minutes, certainly a good idea to get to your destination. Quick view of some of the metro traffic cameras. You can see the wet roads, obviously. There could be some ponding in a few spots, but for the most part, everywhere driving at a decent rate, around 55 to 60 miles per hour. We'll keep an eye on the roads all morning long. Olivia?
Well, yeah, great advice. Slow down and give yourself extra time this morning. It's 6:10 now. Severe weather hit Wave Country last night, and even more rain is expected throughout the week. We'll have details on what you can expect for weather these next few days. That's ahead on Sunrise.
Now, Wave News.
Well, if the rain and the storms and all the wind didn't wake you up last night, hopefully those alarms woke you up, because I know my phone was going off. I had my wave alerts. I had the emergency alerts on my phone. Everything woke me up last night when those tornadoes came through the area, and make sure you have those set up on your phone.
Yeah, having multiple ways to get alerts, the best thing to do. Even my mom was awake. She was my alert overnight to make sure I was up to come in and follow through with all of these showers and storms that we're continuing to keep an eye on. So here's what we have going on. The front is stalling out. So that means we're starting to see the rain tracking over the same locations over and over again. And this is where flooding issues start to come into play. In terms of severe weather, that is staying off towards our south for now. But this is something that we'll continue to keep an eye on. For those of you in southern Indiana, you're mainly on the drier side with the exceptions of portions of Floyd County, Harrison County, Perry County. This is where we're getting in on a few more of those showers. Also some light to moderate rain from Carrollton to LaGrange towards Shelbyville, with some heavier rainfall near Frankfort. Seeing some of that heavier rain trying to push into parts of the metro, especially along 65 and also Bardstown Road. For those of you further to the southwest, yes, we're keeping an eye on more of that moderate to heavy rainfall at times, especially anywhere from Bullitt County through the Eton area over into Hart County too, especially look at all that yellow. That's a lot of heavy rain. Same thing in Greensburg and towards Columbia. We're watching some of the strongest storms south of Adair County as of right now. So let's hope that it stays just outside of wave country. Now, in terms of how much rainfall we've seen, we're seeing around 2 to 3 inches of rain so far. This is so far over the past 24 hours, and we have the flood watch in place across parts of our region, as well as we're going to continue to keep an eye on more of that rain moving through. Now, with the rain, with the clouds overhead, our temperatures have not budged very much. We're still sitting in the 60s, and this is where we're going to stay throughout the rest of the day. We'll watch for some more of that heavier rainfall, especially across parts of Kentucky for the morning hours as we get towards lunch. Notice not as much of us dealing with some of that heavier rain, a little bit of drizzle to the north, to the the south, and we'll watch some scattered storms racing through parts of wave country. Now, we get further into the afternoon, especially towards 2, 3 o'clock. This is when we have a better chance to see some of those strong to even severe storms moving back into our area. Going to keep an eye on that threat through about 8 o'clock tonight. And then after that point, still watching more rounds of rain moving through wave country. I mentioned that potential for strong to severe storms between that 2 to 8 p.m. time frame. We're watching that for those of you south of Louisville, so anywhere from Franklin County with a line all the way towards Meade County and south. You're underneath that slight risk of severe weather. We mainly have most of the metro underneath a marginal risk, and same thing for areas further to the north. But it doesn't matter what category you're in for today, please stay weather aware because damaging wind gusts over 60 miles per hour, some hail and additional tornadoes certainly possible for the second half of the day. And on top of all of that, we're going to add on more rain. For those of you along and north of 64, this is where we're going to see some of those lower totals because you're going to see more of the breaks from the rain as the day goes along. But the further south you are, this is where we have a better chance to see additional 1 to 4 inches of rainfall. And that is something that could cause some flooding, especially the creeks, the rivers, the streams could really start to rise as we get into the second half of the day today. We keep the alert days going for your Friday and Saturday too because the same front that's stalling out across our region right now is going to stay with us as we head into your Friday. Now for the second half of Friday, so Friday evening, Friday night, this front looks to drift far enough north to give us a decent amount of dry time. But this also allows the atmosphere to destabilize again. And as that front and also an area of low pressure move our way on Saturday, this increases our rain chance and our severe threat yet again. So this is something we'll keep a close eye on. The low itself finally moves through Saturday night into Sunday morning, so we'll watch for some strong severe storms then. The cold front sweeps through as we get into Sunday afternoon, cooling our temperatures down. So how much rain are we going to be looking at by the time everything is said and done? Well, we could see around 6 to 12 inches of rain. For those of you further to the west and southwest of Louisville, this is where you have a better chance for some of those higher totals. And by the way, this is including everything we saw already and going all the way into your Sunday afternoon. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. Also, don't forget that for Friday, we do have a marginal risk of severe weather as we watch for some hail and some strong wind gusts. And then on Saturday, most of us underneath that slight risk of severe weather with those same threats, the damaging winds, the hail in the forecast, along with the flooding threat. We'll be cool to start off next week, and it does look like we'll add in a lot more rain once we get towards the end of next week, and including for thunder. We'll have much more of sunrise after the break.
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots. The Kentucky Lottery, over $5 billion in grants and scholarships.
The severe weather stirs some unpleasant memories for homeowners in Jeffersonville. A year ago, a tornado touched down, injuring 10 people and bringing extensive damage to neighborhoods. One Jeffersonville house was badly damaged, and the family had to move out for months while repairs were made. The return of bad weather had Derek Wakir feeling nervous about his family's safety. Last year, their house suffered thousands of dollars in damage, while the 6 of them were huddled in the floor of the hallway.
Like literally had to grab the dog, my kids, and get in the hallway and shut the doors and just brace for it. Basically was like hunkered over them, holding on to them all. With me and my wife, we're doing that to our kids and just hanging on to them in the hallway. So we don't have a basement or anything like that.
Wakir's family made it through the storm without injury, but the recovery of their home was a slow and aggravating experience. In the meantime, Jeffersonville Mayor Mike Moore put out a warning to potential scammers to steer clear of Jeffersonville following the latest round of storms. But everyone should make sure they have their safe spaces ready, especially with more alert days coming up, Tawana.
Yeah, and as we head really into tomorrow, the threat is more flooding across a good chunk of the area, but then we'll add back in that severe threat, especially a slight risk of severe weather back into the forecast for Saturday. So a lot to watch over the next couple of days. So today is the second of 4 alert days that we have in place. We are watching a lot of that rain across the region as of right now. We're going to keep an eye on the potential for additional strong storms as we get into this afternoon and evening. More rain on Friday, drying out a bit for a lot of us for Friday night. And we'll add back in not just more rain, but that severe threat across a good chunk of wave country on Saturday. Now, Sundays when we finally dry out, and we'll watch temperatures actually dropping as we head throughout the day on Sunday, so keep that in mind. Getting into next week, we do see another system moving in Monday night into Tuesday. Now, what this is going to do is cool us down, but also could bring us the potential for some interesting weather across wave country. I'll put it that way. Once we get towards the end of next week, we'll add back in some more of those showers into our forecast, and we could keep some sort of rain chances for thunder as well. So that's something that we'll keep a very close eye on. By interesting weather, by the way, Olivia, there's a chance for some flurries Tuesday morning.
Oh, goodness. Just everything. Be ready for it all this week. Thanks, Tawana. President Trump says the U.S. will put at least a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the country. There are much higher tariffs for some of America's closest trading partners. New 20% tariffs on goods from the European Union, a 34% tariff on Chinese imports, and a 46% tariff on products from Vietnam. The president says he wants to use the money generated from tariffs to reduce taxes and pay down our national debt. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul says he disagrees with this plan.
Republicans used to be, and conservatives in particular, used to be against new taxes. Adding new taxes will, when you tax something, you get less of it. You want to tax trade, you'll get less trade.
A number of America's trade partners have pledged to quickly retaliate to the new tariffs. We might soon be getting a break from those high egg prices. According to the Agriculture Department, wholesale eggs dropped to $3 per dozen. That's a 9% decline from the week prior. The American Farm Bureau says the lower costs come after noticeably fewer bird flu cases. Another factor is consumers have been buying less eggs, which has helped stores restock. Despite this cost decrease, egg prices still remain historically high. The Consumer Price Index says they're nearly 59% more expensive than they were this time last year.
With Alert Day coverage now, this is Wave News.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us here on Sunrise. And we had such a wild night with all those storms coming through, possible tornadoes reported. I mean, just everything. Probably a lot of people were awake throughout the night. I know you all were awake, keeping track of this.
Yeah, we were both hunkered down for a little bit, too.
Yeah, I stayed at my parents' last night because I live in an apartment. They have a basement. The debris ball with that tornado on the east end came within a half mile of their place.
Yeah,
that's scary.
Frightening. Very frightening.
Scary. So I know a lot of people are going to be trying to find some sort of time to rest today, and we are going to get that chance a little bit this morning since the severe threat has dropped off. But we're now watching a flooding threat across the area, so that's something we're watching and keeping an eye on our southernmost county still, because there are some stronger storms just outside of wave country. Thankfully, those are staying right there for now, and let's hope they certainly stay right there as well. What we're continuing to watch, though, that rain's still just holding on across Kentucky, while Indiana, you're just seeing some drizzle, a couple of spotty showers here and there. So some of the heaviest rainfall in our area right now in Greene County, but especially south of Columbia as of right now. We're also watching that light to moderate rain in parts of Breckenridge County towards E-Town and into the metro as well. Some more of the heavy, more steady rainfall showing up from Frankfort to Shelbyville down towards Taylorsville and Bardstown. As we head over the next 12 hours, here's what we're going to see. We're going to keep those rain chances around, especially for those of you further to the south. And more of us get a little bit of dry time towards the late morning. But once we head into the afternoon, another wave of these stronger thunderstorms will race right back into wave country. And of course, we have to keep an eye on that severe threat very, very closely. We are going to continue to keep an eye on more of those stronger storms between 2 and 8 p.m. this evening. So a lot to watch as we head throughout the day. Now with the rain, temperatures not budging a whole lot, going to stay in the 60s for temperatures throughout the day. Now I mentioned that severe threat for later on this afternoon. We do have a slight risk of severe weather, mainly for those of you south of the metro. Damaging winds, more of that potential for hail and tornadoes in the forecast. But of course, Carson, we're still keeping an eye on that flooding threat as we head into the next couple of days.
All the way through Sunday morning, we're going to have that risk for extreme amounts of rain. This still is on track to be a historic flooding event for the region. Here's where things stand now. In general, most of us picked up around an inch to inch and a half of rain going back to last night and early this morning. The hot spot right now is Litchfield, where you've seen 1 3/4 inches down in Grayson County. Here in Louisville, just shy of an inch. As we go through the next couple of days, there will will be some drier times. Not totally dry, but maybe a little more scattered, kind of like what Tawana was mentioning a second ago. But even so, there's going to be these waves of heavy rain over and over and over again all the way through Sunday. That's why a flood watch continues for the entire region through Sunday. You notice those lighter green boxes, those are flood advisories across central Kentucky. And central Kentucky in particular today, that we're going to have to watch for that highest heavy rain and flooding risk. That risk will shift back to the north along and north of I-64 later this afternoon and overnight tonight. So there's going to be some breaks in between, and we'll take all the breaks we can get when it comes to limiting the flooding concerns, but also the cleanup efforts. Wave News reporter Marissa Burke is out live this morning. Marissa, you've been in the industrial park so far this morning with that damage in eastern Jefferson County. Tell us where you're heading now.
Carson, we are heading toward Christian Academy of Louisville. You know, when people send in reports of different areas, we try to go out there and look. And we just stopped by Beckley Station Road and was driving through a neighborhood, and we didn't see anything to report there. So now we're heading out, and I want to just show you the roads where we are. You know, pretty clear in this part of this neighborhood as we're driving through to get to Christian Academy. But I do want to say that my photographer was saying that while he was driving, he felt one of those gusts of wind, and the storm tracker, she's a big girl, so he even said that he was making sure he was holding tight. So if you're going to get out and about today, just be careful of some of those lingering conditions that the Wave Storm Tracking team has been talking about. Like, as you can see on this road, things are pretty clear, but again, we are just taking it slow no matter what part of town we're in, because we've driven up to trees and down power lines and had to back away. So just be careful if you're getting out and about today. Marissa Burke, Wave News, back to you.
And you be careful out there too, Marissa. Thank you. One of the places impacted by the storms were the stables at English Station. That's right next to Christian Academy of Louisville's campus, where Marissa is heading right now. This is a look at the damage our crews captured last night. Tenants at the apartment said they could hear the wind outside. The weather also partially ripped off a roof, and debris was everywhere. We spoke with some of the residents of the apartment on what they experienced. One person says he was sound asleep until the storm woke him up.
I heard a roar. It sounded like a train coming. The house started vibrating. I jumped out of bed, ran to the middle bathroom, jumped in the tub, and I heard windows breaking, and the fire alarm system here started going off. And after, I don't know, 30 seconds, it got really quiet.
We also spoke with the owner of the stables at English Station. They said the company, Sunshine Industries, will have their own crews out cleaning up and making repairs this morning at 7:30. This is video from the storm in Springfield, Kentucky, and wow, look at that lightning there. You can see that lightning strike light up the sky. We're also tracking power outages caused by last night's strong winds. This is a look at the LG&E outage map. You can see there are a few pockets of outages throughout the area. If you see a downed line, make sure you do not go near it because it could still be active. You can call LG&E to report a down line by calling the number on your screen or using the LG&E app. We're also taking a look at how Duke Energy customers are out of power in Indiana. Here's a look at their outage map on dukeenergy.com. If you report an outage, you can call 800-343-3525. 3 people were rescued from a partially collapsed warehouse after a tornado ripped through Indiana. One of them was taken to the hospital in an undisclosed condition. The tornado caused at least one wall of the Sur La Table warehouse in Brownsburg, Indiana, to collapse. Burst ceiling pipes flooded the floor. Metro Sewer District leaders want you to report any flooding you see that's caused by blocked sewers or water catch basins. You should call the number on your screen to report any street flooding brought on by those blocked drainage systems. That number is 502-540-6000. MSD says its strategy is to schedule their crews so they're available around the clock to try to fix any flooding issues out there. These crews cleared some of the problem spots before last night's storms. Several counties across Wave Country have designated shelters to be used as safe places. The spaces are available to anyone who needs somewhere to take cover from the potential tornadoes. Some of these areas could also be used for people to seek shelter from flooding. For most people, a basement or an interior bathroom makes a good shelter during a tornado warning. But Bullitt County officials say shelter spaces are there in case you live in a mobile home or an upper apartment floor. Those shelters are on your screen right now. Locations include Roby Elementary, North Bullitt High, Bullitt East High, Lebanon Junction Elementary, and Nichols Elementary. Each one can hold up to 200 people.
These shelters are open, and so plan on being able to get here in a short period of time in case the weather springs quickly.
These shelters across Bullitt County are open right now, and officials say they will stay open for as long as they're needed. Insurance companies expect to get their own barrage of new claims this week from the weather. Insurance agents say if you see damage to your property, the first thing you should do is call your insurance company. It's also important to look at your policy because some companies are raising the homeowner's deductibles, particularly for wind and hail damage.
A lot of insurance companies have increased that from $1,000 to $2,500 or even 1%, meaning 1%, if you have a $500,000 house, 1%, you're looking at a $5,000 deductible. And a lot of people don't know about that until claim time comes around.
Agents say it's also important to protect your car, so if and whenever you can, park it under a carport or in a garage. And you can get alerts about the severe storms sent right to your phone. The Wave Weather app is designed to help you prepare for hail, rain, tornadoes, and flooding. You can also use it to access our live 24/7-hour weather stream. The app is free to download in the App Store. And Tawana, we can't say that enough. Have that app handy.
Yes, it was going off earlier this morning as those tornado warnings were coming through the metro. So make sure you have your location and the notifications turned on so we can send alerts when those storms are rolling your way. But we're continuing to watch for more rain as the day goes along, so that potential for severe weather, that potential for some flooding, things that we'll keep an eye on as we head throughout the rest of the day. And both of those things can impact travel for anyone heading out and about, Carson.
But the good news so far, Tawana, is the roads are in decent shape. Now, obviously, the roads are wet. There are going to be some ponding spots, especially as that heavier rain moves back into the metro later today. But for the time being, most of the major roads are in good shape. Now, we still have that accident on the map at the Waterston eastbound at I-65. That accident has been cleared for about a half hour or so. Our system just running a little bit behind to clear that wreck. So for the time being, there are no issues to report. Still give yourself plenty of time heading out the door, especially across central and southern Kentucky. That's a live view of a select number of traffic cameras, especially along I-65. The further south you go this morning, the heavier that rainfall will be. But wherever you're heading, wherever you are, give yourself plenty of extra time. Take it slow. Keep those low beam headlights on. We're back with more Wave News Sunrise after this.
The Kentucky Derby Festival is postponing one of its planned events because of this weekend's weather. The Zoller Pump Company Parade Fest will not happen this Saturday. Organizers say winds and rain would prevent crews from setting up displays like inflatables and bounce houses. The Derby Festival has not said what date they're going to reschedule for that Parade Fest, but it would be the first year as an event. When it comes to the Kentucky Derby, most people think of the horses first, but it's also a big event for fashion. The 2025 Derby Style Guide was just released. It's designed to give fans inspiration for their Oaks and Derby outfits. Xana Roberts-Rossi has returned as the Style Guide editor, giving tips on fashion trends for the season. The full Style Guide is up on the Kentucky Derby's website right now. And remember, the 151st Kentucky Derby is set to run on Saturday, May 3rd. And hey, a lot of people probably ordered some outfits. I know, Tawana, you said you ordered something online that was supposed to come today, but this weather throwing things off with shipping.
Yeah, so yeah, have patience with everyone delivering anything today.
Yes.
Please, and if you are a delivery driver, just make sure you're taking it safe yourself as well. That's a big thing. But yeah, we're going to be keeping an eye on more rain, more storms as we head into the next couple of days. I'll talk about that in just 30 seconds.
We're family owned and operated. We have been for 44 years. As soon as they greet you with a smiling face, they take care of you. We're their go-to for service, collision center, sales, anything that they need for their cars. I want them, when they walk out, to know that they had the best service ever.
Come visit us at Hardin County Honda.
We make every mile count.
Good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Juana Andrew here with a check of your forecast. So that front is stalling out across the area, still seeing the strongest and the severe storms just outside of wave country. Port Nashville has just been bombarded with severe thunderstorm warning, tornado warning after tornado warning so far this morning. But thankfully in our area, things are calmer in terms of that severe threat. However, we are still watching that rain pouring on down. For those of you in southern Indiana, you're really just talking about a little bit of drizzle, a couple of spotty showers here and there. But overall, the majority of that rain is still across Kentucky. We're looking at everywhere from portions of Henry County into Franklin County down into Spencer County and into the metro for some of that moderate and even light rain in some cases. A little bit lighter for those of you in parts of Bullitt County and Meade County, but watching another batch of heavier rainfall pushing back into Breckinridge County, and some of the heaviest rain still south of the parkways, especially for those of you in Greene, Taylor, Marion, and Adair counties as of right now. Now, we've seen quite a bit of rain so far. Many of you have seen closer to 1 to 2, and in some cases near 3 inches of rainfall so far with this system, and that rain is just going to keep adding on up. We have the flood watch in place across the region until Sunday. We have a number of flood advisories across our region, as well as we're keeping an eye on those creeks and streams that will be gradually rising. Eventually more of our rivers will be gradually rising over the next couple of days. Temperature-wise, we're still sitting mainly in the 60s across our region. We're going to continue to keep an eye more of this rain rolling through for the morning hours, but notice as we get closer to 9, 10, 11 o'clock, those rain chances drop off. We'll still see some scattered showers across the area, but after lunch, here we go again. Another wave of these showers and thunderstorms taking over wave country. Some of those could be strong to severe, especially for those of you further to the south. We're watching that damaging wind threat, the potential for some hail and some isolated tornadoes again as we get into the afternoon and evening hours, especially between that 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. time frame. Once we get further into the evening, watching for some more of those strong storms. By the time we reach around 9 p.m., a lot of us will be drier in terms, or we should see that severe threat reduced significantly across our area, but still dealing with quite a bit of that rain pushing still through wave country. So for today, we have a slight risk of severe weather in place for those of you basically along and south of 64. That marginal risk just to the north. And as I mentioned, damaging winds, hail, tornadoes will be our main threats with that. We'll also have to keep an eye on the flooding threat. We've been talking a lot about how much rain is in the forecast. And since many of us have seen already around 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, we can add on additional 1 to 4 inches of rain, especially for those of you south of the parkways as you head further to the north. That total, of course, will be a little bit lower because you're not looking at as much rainfall in your forecast for today. Here is your 10-day for your Friday and Saturday. Notice keeping those alert days in place. Those aren't going anywhere as that front is going to be stalled out across the area. Now we'll watch for those rounds of rain for the first half of your Friday. We do see a drying trend through Friday afternoon and evening. Once we get into your Saturday, this is when we'll see that front trying to move right back into our region. This will come along with this area of low pressure that will be off towards our southwest, moving towards us. So that will not only increase our rain chances, but it will increase our severe threat as we get into your Saturday. By the time we reach Sunday, though, that severe threat drops off. The rain starts to move out with the cold front, and our temperatures will also be falling. By the time everything is said and done, we're still looking at around 6 to 8 to 12 inches of rainfall, just depending on where you are in wave country. For those of you further to the west and southwest, your totals look to be a little bit higher than everyone else's. I mentioned that severe threat for Friday. Yes, we have that marginal risk of severe weather, damaging winds, hail will be our main concerns in addition to the flooding. And then on Saturday, the majority of us underneath a slight risk of severe weather as we're keeping an eye on those same threats, damaging winds, hail, and of course the flooding threat. Now, as we get into the end of the weekend, our temperatures will be falling. We'll see temperatures starting off in the 50s Sunday morning, ending up in the 40s, and then by the time we reach Monday morning, most of us should be in the 30s at that point. Monday looking quiet. A quick front sweeping through Monday night to Tuesday could bring us some flurries, could bring us some drizzle, so we'll have to keep an eye on that trend, but it will drop our temperatures down into the 40s for your Tuesday before we rebound into the 50s and for some the low 60s for the end of next week. But this is not something we really want to see for the end of next week. More rain in the forecast, and we're going to keep those scattered showers even for thunder. So yeah, we'll watch that.
Yeah, we don't want that. Thanks, Tawana. Now let's take a look at the big stories we're following today around the country and the world. 25% tariffs on vehicles shipped to the U.S. start today. That might seem less groundbreaking after President Donald Trump's announcement yesterday. He's imposing a minimum 10% tariff on imports from all countries. J.P. Morgan predicts a global recession if Trump maintains his tariffs, though his supporters note other countries don't have to retaliate. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in Brussels for 2 days of meetings with his NATO counterparts. Rubio has a meeting scheduled with the foreign ministers of Japan and South Korea. Rubio's trip comes on the heels of President Trump's announcement of sweeping tariffs on America's trading partners, including many of its NATO allies. Those are some of your top headlines. We'll have your wake-up watch list right after this. 6:52 on your Thursday morning. We're still keeping track of damage from last night's storms while looking ahead to what else is on tap this week. Kicking off the Wake Up Watch list, let's go to Marissa Burke, who's checking things out live in the Storm Tracker this morning.
Good morning. We've been driving around the eastern part of Jefferson County. We've seen some downed power lines, some downed trees. We even found a building that looked like the tornado went through it and just distorted it completely. We're heading towards Rock Crest Way, one of the areas that we've gotten reports about. I want to just show you all the roads right now. We're in this neighborhood. Nothing that is standing out to us. We've driven by Christian Academy and several of the apartment complexes in that area, and we're told that there were some windows that have been blown out from the strong wind gusts. But looking at the roads, there's some people out and about, but just be careful. You don't know what you're coming up on. You don't know if you're going to see a downed power line or a tree, so just beware. And with all the rain, you don't know what areas may have some standing water. So if you're getting out and about today, just beware of the area and just take it slow. Back to you.
Thank you, Marissa. You stay safe out there, too. MSD will set up roadway flood wall closures at 10th and 27th Streets today. It'll take crews several hours to install and assemble the flood wall. MSD says it expects the Ohio River will crest on Saturday. Power outages caused by last night's strong winds. This is a look at the LG&E outage map, and you can see there are a few pockets of outages. If you see a downed line, do not go near it because it could still be active. You should call LG&E to report the downed line by calling the number on your screen and using the LG&E app. Storm shelters across the area have their doors open for people who need a safe place to go this week. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says these shelters are especially important for people living in mobile homes. We have a full list of shelters up on wave3.com. Governor Beshear also says the National Guard is on standby as well. And Tawana, tracking that active weather in our area right now.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on more of these showers continuing to roll through our Kentucky counties. Indiana, you're a lot drier as of right now, and severe weather just off towards our south. The flood watch that goes all the way until Sunday. Keep in mind, with the amount of rain that we have in the forecast, a lot of these creeks and streams are going to be rising. So if you have one of those in your backyard, just keep an eye on it. The rivers will also continue to rise as we head into the next couple of days. We'll be watching for more rounds of rain as we get into the afternoon and evening. A little bit of some dry time for the late morning for a lot of us along and north of the parkways especially, but then we'll watch for more showers and thunderstorms, some of them severe, for the afternoon and evening. Now, once we head into tomorrow and for your Saturday, going to keep alert days in place, and we'll watch for additional rounds of showers, at least for the first half of Sunday, finally drying out for the beginning of next week.
Quick check of the roadways. Looks like we have a trouble spot. Waterston eastbound at I-65. We do, in fact, have a brand new crash that has popped up in the same exact spot where we had a crash about an hour or so ago. There was an LAPD cruiser right here in the Waterston eastbound lanes just within the last 15 seconds. It looks as though they have moved further to the east, but you notice traffic on the Waterston is running rather slow. Give yourself plenty of time as you head out the door wherever you are this morning. Aside from that one accident, however, everybody's minding their P's and Q's, if you will, taking it slow, keeping those headlights on. Just give yourself an extra 10 to 20 minutes heading out the door and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, you'll never regret that extra 10 or 20 minutes, that's for sure.
Yep.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll keep you updated on all that severe weather later today here on Wave. Hope you have a great Thursday.
Get live streaming news, 24-hour weather, investigations, podcasts, and more, all for free with Wave Now.